Joining me tonight. This is an ongoing series of online satsangs as a part of the Satori School for Non-dual awakening. Anyways, I have a couple announcements here. I just want to thank all the Satori students for supporting the program, and thank all the non-students who also offer donations at the end of the program. It's very helpful for me, so thank you for that. So tonight's topic is manifesting our highest nature. And so I'll be talking about that just here in a couple moments. I've been meeting with so many people recently, and my schedule has been really jam-packed. And so I just want to thank everyone for showing up so deeply, so fully with the teachings. I want to thank everyone for taking the exercises on the school page so seriously. I just posted a new one today, so you might want to check that out. If you're one of the students, or if you're interested in becoming a student, you may just see what's going on here. So I want to really just call everyone into just a quiet sense of silence right now. And let us just really gather our energy here. And this evening, this afternoon, whatever time of day it is where you are. And so can we fully arrive? Can we fully be present, to this moment, to our direct experience of right now? So last month I spoke about manifesting our true desire, our authentic desire. And I want to continue on that topic because it's a very, very interesting topic to me and very deeply meaningful, and for so many people that I work with. And so what does this mean to manifest our highest nature? And what does this truly mean? And so many people, when we think of manifesting, we think of, what can I get? How can life serve me? I want more of this or more of that. And this last weekend, I went and visited one of my teachers, Amachi. And so I went down and visited her in Santa Fe, and there was 5,000 or 10,000 people there. All kinds of people. If you've ever been to see Amachi, it's almost like a spiritual circus. Everyone has their beads and their robes and their flowing clothes and their whole spiritual outfits on, and all kinds of people who put the bindi dot on, and these aren't necessarily real. Shouldn't say real, but these are Americans, who are dressing up like spiritual people. And so many of them go to Amachi with this idea of, what can you give me? I want the Guru's grace. I want her eyes to meet mine. I want to be filled with grace and love and happiness and joy, never-ending bliss. But to me, this is absolutely the wrong attitude when we are on the spiritual path. The attitude should not be, what can I get? But what can I give? How can I give fully of myself? How can I give from my highest nature? How can I show up more fully? How can I manifest this God-given peace, this God-given nature in this world, in my relationships with my friends, my family, my children? And so I had a funny experience. I went up to Darshan, which is, for those of you who have never seen Amma before, there's this long line, and you get a ticket and you get in line and you go up there and you receive a hug from Amma. And normally as you get closer to her, you can just feel this intensity of peace, of bliss, of heart-opening love. That's quite amazing. And she can fill just a huge hall, with her radiance, with her presence. And so I was preparing myself. I was sitting in meditation, being quiet, and seated behind me was my wife. And then I had this little baby who's kind of poking me. And so I'd turn around and smile at my baby and say, "Sweetheart, I love you so much." And then, you go up there to see Amma, and they asked me to hold the baby, and, you kind of pick up your baby and give it to Amma. So I picked up my daughter and gave her to Amma to hold. My baby, she wasn't feeling so good. And, she's not used to being around so many people. And at Amma's, everyone's just trying to get to the front, trying to see Amma. So there's a lot of pushing and touching, and it's almost kind of rough, it's like a circus being there, just with so many people packed into this giant conference hall. And my baby is teething right now, so she's a little bit irritable, which means she's crying a lot more. So anyways, I took her up there and I presented her to Amma, and she just let out this incredible scream, as I hear Amma, the mother of the universe, is holding her. And then Amma pulled me in for a hug and hugged me and the baby, and my wife was trying to calm the baby, and then Amma hugged us all at once. But all of it was happening, in such a space of tremendous love, such a space of tremendous peace. And most people, if you hand them a baby, and the baby screams as loud as possible into the person's ear, they push the baby away, or they try to give it back, or they say, "Oh my God, what's the matter with your child?" But with Amma, it was just this movement of just total love, total peace, total joy. She just looked at you with big eyes like, "Hey," and then pulls you closer. So she's an example of the selfless one, the divine one, a divine avatar. And so it's this wonderful experience of being held in her love. Watching the baby scream and see her like this huge mountain, just completely unmoved, just showering the whole environment with love. And so then I went, and took the baby and the wife, and we went all and sat down. And I sat and meditated, and there was these people that came and sat down behind me, and they were doing the whole Amma tour. It's like this whole thing where Amma goes from city to city, and they'd been following Amma. And their conversation, they were speaking quite loudly, and so there I was sitting and meditating, feeling this rush of light and Kundalini energy and just bliss, and as well as deep peace. And these individuals sat down behind me, and they were talking about how they had gone to the airport. They'd seen Amma in Los Angeles, and they'd gone to the airport, and they were going through security, and they were speaking like, almost like, say, like a valley girl, like, "Oh my God, I was going through security, and I didn't want to go through the metal detector because I didn't want to go through the machine, or whatever it is when you go through security, because I was afraid that they were going to take away my ma vibration." What she meant by that, she received her hug, a couple of days before, and she didn't want to go through the metal detector because she didn't want all that divine energy, which she had been infused with, to be taken away by the metal detector. And to me, this just shows us how crazy we are, how grasping we are, how greedy we are. We want to go to the Guru, we want to be filled with grace, and we want to hold on to the grace. Say, "This is my grace. No one can take this from me." And of course, this is the way the ego meets spirituality. We want to go to yoga class, and then after yoga, we want to have our warm cup of tea and then our bubble bath and have no one disturb us. We want to have our children disappear, our angry husband to disappear. We want to be left completely alone and with our private heaven world. And again, this is what egos do. Egos grasp at, they hold on, they attach to. There was a part of me that wanted to turn around and just ask, well, if you're this wonderful, cherished vibration that you received from the Divine Mother can be taken away by walking through a metal detector at an airport, and how powerful is that vibration? And what is that vibration? If it's so impermanent that it can just be taken away, is there another way you can relate to your experience? And so we can all ask ourselves these questions. Are we just looking to get high? Is that what the spiritual path is about for us? Is it just something where we're trying to get high? If that's the case, let's just admit that. Now we're tuning into this class because we're hoping that the teacher will offer a way that we can get what we want. So to me, if you're speaking about what's true in your heart, and I will fully support you in that, and you getting what you want, and you manifesting your highest nature. But if we're speaking about getting what we want in an egoic way, then you're absolutely in the wrong place. The wrong place. And not that those two can't be aligned. Our ego can be aligned with our heart. But more often than not, it's not. And so I would invite you, can you give yourself fully to the truth of your being, to the truth of your nature? And by that I mean that warm, quiet presence in the center of your chest. Can you tune in to what you truly are? To this depth of silence, this depth of quiet. Can you open to this? Can you give yourself over to this? And so if you have any question about what I'm speaking about, if you let go of your identification with your mind, if you let go of your identification with your egoic nature, and just come into this peace, which is silently experiencing this moment right now, which is silently hearing the sound of my voice, which is silently looking out of your eyes. So I invite you to drop any egoic allegiance and just come into this depth of silence. And listen to this silence. To ask the silence, what is it that I need to do? That I need to surrender, that I need to let go of? So that you can manifest through me, in me, as me. If you ever meet any great master, I've had the deep pleasure and honor of meeting so many incredible teachers throughout my life and being in an intimate relationship with the master being. One of the things that struck me the most was just his presence, the depth of silence, the depth of truth, the depth of love that radiated from him. And as his student, it was wonderful to sit in his presence and soak it up. There was lots of people that would come around my teacher. And they'd come around in a greedy way, just like how they come around Amachi. So many greedy people show up in the spiritual scene, just trying to get. And of course, I had that inclination too. I just wanted to get the bliss, get the peace, hold on to it, experience it forever. But there was something deeper within my heart, which just wanted to offer myself fully to this depth of peace, to this descent of God, to give myself over to God, to give myself over to truth, to give myself over to bliss, and to allow this to manifest through me as me. And so for this to happen, we have to be willing to be deeply humble. And not humble in an egoic way, where we're putting everyone before us and all that kind of stuff. But humble in the sense of being quiet and willing to listen from the fullness of our heart. And allowing the truth of our heart, the intelligence of our heart, the intelligence of this deep silence to lead us, to guide us. And so in my sessions with individuals, I often ask them, what's in your heart? What's true for you? You tell me, what is your next step? Sometimes they're taken a little bit aback. We're so often looking to someone to tell us what to do. And I'm inviting us to come into your own inner autonomy, your own inner authority. Because that's the truth. Can you listen to this place, to this presence, and allow it to guide you in all your encounters, in all of your interactions and relationships? And if you do find yourself lost in your mind, identified with your mental nature or your emotional nature, can you choose instead to drop into your heart and allow your heart to lead you, to guide you, to show you the way? Can you come into your heart? Just ask your heart and silently wait, for the answer of how shall I proceed? And so often my mind is just completely blank, without any thoughts. It's very confusing for people around me, because when they see this, I wonder what he's thinking. What is he doing? What's going on in there? And so can you be okay with it if nothing is going on? Can you be okay if there's just peace? If there's just silence? And can you be open enough and humble enough to not speak until the silence wants to speak? Till the truth wants to speak through you as you. And so again, I'm inviting us to be very humble, very open. To your true presence, your true divine nature. And of course, this requires a gentle discernment, just a gentle discipline and choice. It's choosing to let go of the allegiance with the mind, let go of the allegiance with the emotional world. Instead, to listen to something quite deeper, quite profound. And as you listen to this depth, as you listen to this sense of profoundness, which you are, then you become that thing. You become that thing. So some of you, who are watching this right now, you may see at the top of my head, I have two new scars. I think I spoke about this last time, but bear with me if I did. I went on a boat trip with some friends and whitewater rafting, and the boat flipped over, and I smashed my head on the boat oar and got sucked under in the rapids, almost drowned, and got beat up by a bunch of boulders underwater. It was just circulated under, got pulled under 3 or 4 times. And all of it happened in this great experience of peace, this great experience of silence. Because that's what we are. We are vast, open, empty silence. So as the river sucked me under, there was complete silence. And when I got sucked under again, there was complete silence, and again, complete silence. And when my body got thrashed about in the rapids, there was complete silence. And when finally I got spit out on the other side of the shore, and there was blood just pouring from my head and from my body. My body was aching, and the people around me were saying, "Oh my God, what has happened to you?" As my body complained and ached and bled, that too happened in this space of silence. All of life happens in this space of silence, which we are. And the question is where will you identify? Will you identify with the insecure mind, the grasping emotions? Or will you identify with something greater than that? And so this is our ongoing invitation. Because of course in a human life, we have countless opportunities. And to respond from peace and love and the hugeness of what we are, or to respond from, say, our humanity, our broken, our jaded, our wounded sense of self. So I laugh a little bit because despite facing death and just having an experience of total peace, as the weeks went on and I developed it. I guess I got a concussion through the accident. these headaches came, and really painful headaches. It would go on for, I guess, a couple weeks at a time. And I'd walk home from work in a space of perfect peace, and I'd walk home, and my baby would be screaming at me because she was teething and having a hard time. And then there was this place within me that says, I want the baby to be quiet. And so, of course, here was another place within me which was not at peace. And so the invitation is can I surrender this place? This place that felt irritable, that felt that I couldn't handle it. The ongoing headaches and to have a screaming child, can be a lot. And so the invitation is can we be compassionate towards our humanity? Can we be gentle with our humanity? Can we not believe the story of the humanity? Like, this has to stop. Because you can't really tell a baby to stop screaming. You can try, but it just doesn't work. You can tell your boss to stop being mean, or your husband, to act differently than how he acts. But oftentimes when we do that, we'll simply be arguing with reality. A more efficient way of meeting life is, can we open our heart? Can we surrender our difficulty to God, to life? Can we give back our pain to the universe? And can we ask our heart to show us the way? If the baby comes to me and I'm having a hard time and a headache, you come into your heart, maybe your heart says, calls out to your wife and asks for some help in a tender way. Sometimes listening to your heart means taking a deep, full breath and breathing in the irritation, breathing in the fear, breathing in the agitation, breathing in the feeling of being overwhelmed, and breathing out and noticing, I am completely okay. I am okay. Even if my head is pounding and the child is screaming, I am okay. And just noticing how okay we are in every moment. How deeply okay, how fully okay, how totally okay we are. So can we step into this fully? This great sense of okayness. And from this place, pick up our child. Walk towards the one who's complaining about us and saying, dear, I love you. I am so sorry. Please forgive me. Can we walk towards our own pain and meet it with a sense of love, a sense of openness? Can we give ourselves permission to fully acknowledge what is within us and have a cry if we need to have a cry? For when we feel something fully, when we meet our pain with love and openness and acceptance, sometimes that means we cry. And as we cry, can we let go of our story? Can we let go of the pain? Can we allow it to leave our being and our body? While simultaneously fully acknowledging the hugeness of what we are, the depth of silence of what we are. And so this may take some practice, what I'm speaking about, because what the ego is the ego is a force of habit. And what a force of habit does, well, it just plays the same tune over and over again. And so the ego's favorite tune is seek pleasure and avoid pain at all costs. And so if you're in pain and you want to be free, if you want to manifest your highest nature, instead of walking away from pain, instead of abandoning pain, which just won't work. Because when we abandon pain, pain tends to increase, it tends to intensify. If you go to the bar and try to drink your pain away, you tend to get more pain. And so what I'm inviting instead is for us to be willing to embrace that pain, to breathe into it, to embrace the anxiety, to breathe into it, to embrace the anxiety, to let it go, to love it, to be compassionate with it, kind and gentle with it. So can we do these things? Sometimes, the act of this desire that we have to manifest our highest nature, sometimes it doesn't mean embracing pain. Sometimes it simply means coming into your heart and being willing to sit still for an hour or 2 or 3 and deeply meditate, deeply feel into your goodness, feel into your radiance. Like right now in this moment, can you feel the radiance in your feet? Can you feel the radiance in your big toe? How wonderful is that? That your big toe is radiant and alive and full of life. Can you feel the radiance on your crown chakra? Oh, how wonderful that is. That I am so radiant, that I am so divine. Can you feel the radiance and goodness in your heart? The brilliance of light. Can you stay there? Can you give yourself to this experience? Even if you have ADD, even if your mind is screaming at you that I want to go in this direction or that direction, or I need to do the dishes, I need to do the taxes, I need to go surf the internet and see if there's something more interesting on. And so if we are going to truly manifest our highest nature, there has to be a willingness to drop our lowest nature, to let go of that which does not serve us, to let go of that which is lesser than. There has to be a deep willingness to listen to that quiet, still voice of our heart and say yes to love. Yes. Yes to love. Yes to truth. Yes to peace. Yes to bliss. Because this is what our nature is truth, love, spaciousness, openness, bliss. And so you don't necessarily have to go to your guru to try to get these things. These things are what you are. The guru's job is simply to reflect those, to radiate those, to remind you that that's what you are. But most people, when they go to the guru, they see that the guru has it, but I don't. The reason the guru has it and you don't is because the guru is awake to their true nature. They're awake to their divinity. They're awake to their bliss, their spaciousness, their vastness. And you are lost in your mind. And so if we find ourselves lost in our mind, if we find ourselves internally fighting with something which is not even here, arguing with the past, grasping at the future, having this imaginary story that our husband or our wife is the worst person in the world. If you want to be like your guru, drop the story. Turn your awareness inward. Not in on your thoughts, but in on your direct experience of your nature in every moment of your life. Your nature is pure, is divine, is radiant, is completely silent. How wonderful is that? How wonderful is that? Now, speaking with someone about an hour ago about Kundalini awakening. And he had gotten very confused by all kinds of anxiety that had come forward within him. He was wondering, why is this the case? Why is there so much anxiety and restlessness within me? And so when you awaken your Kundalini energy, you're awakening a bright light. You know, if any of you have been to, they used to do this in big cities. I don't know if they do it anymore. I don't live in a big city, but they used to have these giant spotlights. They probably invented them right around World War II when they were looking for the bombers in the sky. A big spotlight so they'd know where to shoot, so the people wouldn't be bombed. But sometimes in the city they have these, if there's a big party or like, a big, movie opening, or maybe they're selling, at a car dealership or something, they turn on these giant spotlights and they shine them up into the sky. Well, that's what Kundalini energy is like. It's like this giant spotlight. Your true nature is like this giant spotlight. And so when it gets turned on, when you awaken to it, you begin to see everything within you which is out of alignment, which is impure, which is stuck, which is old, which is no longer of use. You begin to see all of your egoic habits. And most people are highly disturbed by this when they see all these habits, they see all this pain, when they see all this anxiety. And they get confused by it, and then they say, how do I get rid of it? Or they just try to run away from it and wish they never awoke this Kundalini light, this Kundalini energy. When the light turns on within you, it's a good thing. It's your nature becoming conscious of itself, and also conscious of all the places within you which need to grow, which are outdated, which are ready to transform. And so when you look into the basement of your unconsciousness and you shine a bright light down there, you will see all kinds of distorted things. And again, if you want to manifest your highest nature, you must be willing to take the time to heal those things. You must be willing to bring them to the light. Meet them with love, meet them with compassion, meet them with peace. And unconditional love, which comes through just completely acknowledging that they're here. And so often I meet with someone and they'll be feeling sad or angry. And so part of my job is just to acknowledge that. There's a lot of sadness here, isn't there? They may say, yes, but I want to go over here, talk about the bliss. Say, well, if you want to have an abiding experience of bliss, you must be willing first to fully meet your pain, fully meet your sadness, fully meet your anger. Because bliss is your true nature. But it's hard for us to abide in our true nature if there's all these angry voices or sad voices within us competing for our attention and energy. So in a sense, that's what ego is. It's just this whole movement of competing forces within us. And because we came to this world, we're gifted with an ego, we're gifted with all these voices. And so the invitation is can we meet all of them with love? Can we help them to heal? Can we help them to release? And what we will find is what we're left with is this deep sense of silence, this deep sense of goodness, this deep sense of strength and courage and compassion. And so it's difficult work being a human, because you have this nature which is absolutely divine, absolutely beautiful, And then you also have this nature which is always growing, always evolving, and in a sense is an animal nature. And so we have these two, almost like having two natures, a higher nature and a lower nature. And it's not that the lower nature is bad. There's nothing wrong with our animal nature. But if you have a sincere desire in your heart to live from your highest, you must honor the highest first and foremost. And so to manifest the truth of what we are, we must first be willing to become quiet and just be willing to step out of our mind and step into our presence and to listen to the intelligence of our presence, to let this presence move us, lead us, guide us. And if your egoic nature comes forward and argues and says, I don't like this, or I want to do it the old way, if we're going to be a powerful force of change, we have to go forward despite what our ego says, despite the angry, hurt, wounded child within us. We have to tell her, no, I'm going to continue to go forward. I will meet you with love, child. I will fully acknowledge that you're here. I will not deny you or ignore you. I'll take the time to do our healing work, and I will continue to walk forward in the direction of my highest, despite all the kicking and screaming you may do. And so this is the basics of manifesting our highest nature, is first becoming silent, unhooking from the mind, and then discovering that who and what we are is the silence. Realizing we are the silence. And this is not something we do intellectually. This is something we do through directly experiencing our nature. Through stepping into this silence and realizing, oh yes, this silence is what I am, what I've always been. And if you want to abide as this silence, you have to be willing to listen to the silence, to allow it to guide you, to lead you, to show you the way. As soon as you stop doing that, is the moment you step back into the land of ego, the realm of ego. The more you do it, listening to the silence, experiencing the silence, inviting the silence to live through you as you, the more you wake up to it and abide as it. And as you give yourself over to it again and again, it begins to dawn on you, either in a moment of insight or in an abiding realization. My God, this is what I've been my entire life. I have always been this depth of silence. And then we experience a great relief of freedom, knowing that this silence is our nature. And that if we ever get lost in our mind again, that we always have the opportunity to step right back into this. Because what we are, it cannot go anywhere. We can ignore it or lose perspective of it, but it cannot go anywhere. No one can take the silence that you are away from you. But you can ignore it and deny it, and easily become lost in your egoic nature. In a sense, that's how the whole world lives, lost in their egoic nature. So it's a very simple invitation today. To step out of mind and to step into the hugeness of this quiet presence which we are. And to allow this greater intelligence to come into us, to lead us, to guide us, to show us the way. And so I have a number of questions that I'd like to go over. And so the first one, I get this question a lot. And again, I simplified a lot of the questions because many of them were very long. So forgive me if I did. I put it in my own words here. But the first question is I'm stuck and I don't seem to be growing. I seem to be just spinning around the same thing over and over again. And what should I do? And we can be stuck for many reasons. And one of the reasons is that we can be deeply afraid of letting go. Deeply afraid of letting go. Because when we let go, oftentimes it feels as if the ground is falling out from under us. Oftentimes when we're in change, when we're experiencing great change, great transformation, it feels, it could feel viscerally like how I felt in the river. You're just kind of being swept away. There's no ground. Now for me, I'm very comfortable with no ground because I've spent a lot of time in this experience. But someone else, for example, there was another man who got swept away in the river a number of days ago. He went through the same rapids that I went through. And he had a heart attack. He died, he drowned in the river. And so oftentimes being stuck is a defense against admitting reality. And oftentimes in reality, the ground is falling out from under us. And in true reality, there is no ground. It's a groundless ground. In life, I assume all of you have had this experience, but at some point you realize it's always changing. In the words of the Buddha, everything is impermanent, but by that he means everything is changing. The ground is constantly falling out from under us. The question is, can we become comfortable with this? Can we become okay with the truth? Your other option is to fight with it, to argue with it, which of course does not work. It doesn't. Yet for some reason we seem to do it over and over again. And so, can you step into your peace? If you step into your peace, you see there's no reason to fight. There's no reason to argue. There's no reason to complain. This last weekend, it was Father's Day. And, many of you know my father recently died. He died this last month. And so I put in this DVD that the funeral home had made, all these pictures of my dad and, us as kids. And I put it on just to honor him. And I got really sad, seeing his face and remembering all those times. So some more grief came forward of just grieving my father and grieving this experience of my loss to him. And so the invitation is, can you become okay with all your feelings? If we're stuck, oftentimes it means there's part of us that's unwilling to feel, unwilling to experience. And so to get out of being stuck, we have to be courageous. To be free means to be open to everything. To be one means that there's no division between you and life. And so can we be open to everything, even if it's difficult, even if it's uncomfortable? So I encourage you to shine the light of your awareness into the places where you wish did not exist, into the places you don't want to see. Open your heart, open your mind, and be willing to honestly see what is here. And so that's a beautiful question. Beautiful question. I think that's something we all seem to have struggled with. The next question is about Kundalini awakening. After a Kundalini awakening that I had, a lot of restlessness came forward. How do I deal with this? I think I've spoken about this already some, but in a similar way, through being willing to feel the restlessness, while simultaneously opening to the depth of silence which you are. In fact, I should say this. It's always easier if we open to the depth of silence which we are. It's always easier if you open to your true nature first and foremost, and then try to embrace whatever it is within you. What the ego tries to do is the ego tries to take care of itself. So it's like mind working with mind, ego working with ego, ego trying to heal ego. That doesn't really work. So I apologize if I'm saying this backwards, but my teacher, he always taught me the most important thing for you to do is first and foremost to realize your God nature. And so when you open to your God nature, when you realize your God nature, you realize that who and what I am is greater than the thing I'm struggling with. It must be. The reason you feel the restlessness is because the awareness that you are, the silence which you are, is registering restlessness within you. It's not that you are restless. It's that restlessness is arising within you. Awareness is always greater than that which it is aware of. The silence is always greater than the storm that is arising within it. It has to be that way. So it's stepping into the hugeness of the sky that you are and seeing, oh yes, there's restlessness moving through me. There's a storm moving through me. Can I honor the storm? Can I open the storm? Can I not resist the storm? Can I put down my fight with the storm and let it pass through? Let it pass through me. You argue with it, it grows, it intensifies, it stays longer. You ever notice that? With pain, like with the concussion I had and the headaches, if I argue with the headache, it intensifies. If I open to it, embrace it, oh, there's pain here. The pain is arising in vast spaciousness. Does the pain go away? Sometimes. In fact, if I become deeply intimate with the pain, I'll feel the pain more. But then if I take another step and become more close with the pain, more intimate with the headache, oh, there's an intensity here, an intensity of energy. Oh, what is this energy? Oh, this energy is alive. This energy is heavy. Oh, and this energy is actually light. It's actually bliss. How crazy is that? That you can walk into a headache, become deeply intimate with a headache, and discover that this too is bliss. This too is bliss. It's true of every experience. Every experience at its root is simply energy. And energy is made up of space, bliss, radiance. Our ego is the one that interprets one experience as better than the other. I like this, I don't like that. But the more fully intimate you become with something, the more free you will become as well. The ego works the opposite way. The more we resist it, the more pain will be in and the more ego will be present. So anyways, that's a great question. I had a student write in, and he wrote me a bunch of questions this last couple of weeks, and I actually got this question from a number of people, and so I'll talk about it for a couple minutes. It basically says, I've studied in two traditions, non-duality and the path of the guru. It seems as if one path, the path of the guru, the path of yoga, which has all the practices of saying mantras, singing bhajans, doing kriyas, practicing the various asanas, is too complicated and does not take one to the truth. It seems as if the other tradition, the tradition of non-duality, takes one straight to the truth. Can you speak about this? Is this true, what I'm saying? He went on, he has a bunch of other questions there. I like to think of non-duality as a very efficient path. It doesn't focus on heaven worlds. It doesn't focus on chasing bliss or getting this or that. It doesn't focus on having this experience or that experience. It doesn't focus on complicated mantras or asanas or singing songs of devotion to a deity or a guru. It focuses on one thing, waking up to your true nature in your direct experience. And so in a sense, it's a very stripped down spiritual path, very efficient spiritual path. My student, he went on to ask a number of questions about different yogis and their realizations, and like the realization of Adyashanti compared to, say, that of Yogananda or another guru. And because I've studied in both traditions, I'll speak a little bit about both. Yes, the path of non-duality is a very sharp, very clear, very laser-like focused path of awakening. And so if you give yourself to that path, to this path, you may very quickly wake up to your true nature. And this is the beautiful thing that happens from being on a very laser-like path. The path of Ramana Maharshi was very laser-like. His path was, ask yourself, who am I? Focus all of your attention, your meditation, your inquiry on this one question, who am I? If you do that with great sincerity, you can very quickly wake up to what you are. But non-duality tends to focus on our unborn nature. And by that I mean our unmanifest nature. Our nature as silence, our nature as peace, our nature as vast emptiness. Also focuses on the truth, meaning reality, meaning right here, right now, this moment. What is the truth? And so these are great questions. And again, it can direct our attention in a very clear way. Like when I went and saw Amici this last weekend, again, it was like a circus. There was singing, there was dancing, there was mantras, there was pujas, there was hugging, there was lines, there were people diving at the guru, there was people asking the guru questions. How should I live? How should I do this? How should I do that? There were stories being told, there was teachings, there were all kinds of things to get lost in. And one of the gifts of non-duality is it gives us a clear picture. This is what the path is about. The path is about waking up to our true nature. The path of yoga tends to be about waking up to our true nature and how shall I live and all these heaven worlds and all these asana practice and purifying the body, perfecting the body, doing these types of things. And so yoga often has to do much more with how we live in this world and or how we escape the world, into some heaven world. And so I'll say non-duality has half the truth. It focuses on our unborn nature. The other half of the truth is, how shall I meet this world with love? What is love? How do I manifest this love in the world? How do I live this love in the world? How do I work with my egoic nature? How do I work with my body, my form? How do I open my heart to greater levels of bliss and happiness and joy? How do I clear out my form so I can be a greater conduit for this unborn nature to manifest itself through me as me? And so we can learn a lot from the great gurus. We can learn a lot from the yogic traditions, the Buddhist traditions, the Christian traditions. Non-duality will very quickly teach us who and what we are. But once we realize who and what we are, it doesn't mean we know how to live from that place. It doesn't mean we know how to manifest that place in our life. It doesn't mean that we'll be a clear conduit for that grace to move through us in an active way. And so we have to be careful about our judgments, thinking that one path is greater than another path. All paths have something wonderful to offer. But I encourage you just to listen to your heart, to follow what's in your heart. And if you're no longer interested in the path of the guru, then give yourself to the path which deeply resonates with your truth, with your heart wisdom, with your heart intelligence. Honestly, I love Amici, but when I went there and saw her, I realize that her path, her teaching is not what's so resonant for me in this moment. Of course, I can go to her and I could learn greatly. I could spend lifetimes learning from her because she is a true master, a true avatar. But what's true for me right now is to know what freedom is, to manifest this freedom in my life, to know the depth of silence as what I am, to know the depth of love as what I am. And of course, the more I say these things, the more it begins to sound like the path of Amma. But as far as the mantras, the bhajans, the deity worship, that's not really my thing. My thing is much more simple, much more direct. Because it's what's true for me. I'm not saying that her path isn't a direct path. It absolutely is a direct path. If you hang out with her, she puts you to work. She works you to death, and what dies is your egoic nature. But of course, there has to be a sincerity on the part of the student to allow their egoic nature to die. A lot of people go to Amachi and their spiritual ego grows. The same thing with non-duality. People go non-duality, say there's no one here, there's nobody home. They get the whole talk down. They learn non-duality in a very philosophical way, and they use it to argue with others or to defend themselves from feeling. In a lot of yoga, people tend to get carried away by the song, the dance, the look, the outfit, the get up. They create their spiritual identity there. But if we want to be free, all of this must die. All of this must leave us. And these things die and they leave us through us continuing to walk forward. Not listening to our mind, not listening to our ego, not listening to our emotions, but through listening to our heart. Through giving ourselves over to the depth of peace and silence in our gut, in the deepest part of our being. So I invite you just to join me in this, and opening to both aspects of God. Your silent nature, which is simply hearing my voice right now. Open to that. To give yourself over fully to that. And simultaneously, can you allow that which is manifest, that which is dynamic, that which is alive, to awaken within you and to move through you? Can you call on God? Can you call on Guru? Can you call on life? And ask that the higher energies come through you and live through you as you. Can we invite the heaven worlds to give birth in us, as us, through us, so that this world may be transformed, that this world may be changed, so that our egoic nature can be transformed and changed. Can we open ourselves to the manifest and let this grace pour through us? Can you allow your heart to light up with joy, with happiness, with compassion? Can you look out at life through this this lens of joy, happiness, and compassion. And meet life with this hugeness of love. I want to thank you all so much for tuning in and joining me in this experience of grace, this experience of silence, this experience of manifesting our highest nature. Again, I also want to thank you for continuing to support this online webcast through your donations. There's a link on my YouTube channel, as well as a link, which is just, I think it's Craig Holiday YouTube channel. And of course, my website, craigholiday.com, has a PayPal button. And I want to thank you for offering your donation and your support. And more importantly, I want to just thank you for showing up with an open heart. Because that's the most important thing, is can we show up with an open heart, a sincere heart, and open ourselves to grace, to love, and to allow this love to move through us, to give birth as us. Again, I feel so honored to be here and to be able to share in this way. And thank you all so much for joining me. And take good care. And may peace be with you, my friends.